Hello and welcome to this deep goddess yin yoga practice. This practice, we are working with the goddess Eostra, and it is a yin yoga practice for fresh starts, rebirth, and a leap of faith. So, at the time of this recording, we are heading into the year 2026. Okay, it's like December 29th today, 2025. And I was like, all right, I know I want to create something for the new year, you know? What goddess who wants to come out into the sovereign sanctuary YouTube space, right? And I just kind of sat with it for a few days and I meditated with it, and pretty soon I just kind of felt this little nudge from Eostra. And I was like, Eostra, okay, I see you. She's a goddess of new beginnings. So that made sense, right? But then I was like, you're like a springtime goddess, you know? So it fit, but at the same time, I was also like, but shouldn't we be working with you like in the spring? But then I got to thinking about it and I'm like, but it's YouTube. So you could be watching this at the new year. You could be watching this in the springtime. You could be watching this at any time, at some point in your life where you are ready to take some metaphorical leap of faith in your life, right? In my mind's eye, I always see the Fool card. And if you've read my book, Girl, You're a Queen, you know exactly what I'm talking about, taking that leap of faith. So I was like, okay, all right, this works. I see you, boo. Eostra. So we're going to talk a little bit about her. She is a Germanic goddess. She is a fertility goddess. She is the dawn goddess from the first. She's the dawn goddess form, the first light after a long winter. Her symbols are hare and the hare and rabbits. So, where I'm going with this, if you all don't put two and two together, I don't know what else to tell you at this point. But if you've never made the connection why Jesus was never affiliated with Easter bunnies and rabbits, there's a reason. Okay, this was taken. Anyway, I'm not here to get into my little witchy rants. But the hares and rabbits represent fertility, and then the eggs represent hidden potential, and then the spring and light represent clarity after confusion. New color after months of gray represents the hope you didn't know you needed. So she warms you into new beginnings, and she's a melting goddess. So you can think of her teachings as a thaw rather than a force, which is very, very yin inspired, is it not? So, like, if you've never done yin before, yin is very much about we thaw the muscles, we never force. We never force shapes, we never force our muscles to open when they're not ready. We hold shapes for long periods of time to help the body open slowly on its own when it's ready, right? We don't ever force anything, we never push. It's never about that. It's always about receptivity and allowing the body to just open up on its own timeline and its own way. So I feel like Eostra, this new beginnings practice, this leap of faith practice, she's the absolute perfect goddess to work with. And as we approach this new year, perhaps for you, she could be a great goddess as well. Instead of, maybe taking a different approach to how you want to go into 2026. Maybe it's not about just racing right in. Maybe it is about going in a bit more slowly, more tenderly, So the hamstrings. Yes, we are going to be working with the hamstrings, but the meridians that we will be working with for this particular practice will be the gallbladder, the kidneys, the liver, and the bladder. So the kidneys and the bladder meridians will be releasing fear and working with willpower. And then the liver and gallbladder, we're working with vision and decision making. Okay. We're additionally getting into the hamstrings. So the arc pose, the leap of faith pose for this class is Hanumanasana. I will talk a little bit about that posture in just a second. It's not necessarily a yin pose. I want to make that clear, okay? But we are going to talk about that in just a second here. So this is very much an embodiment type of class. The leap of faith, Hanumanasana, it's basically the splits. Okay, I don't want to turn you off, okay? If you're like, oh my God, I'm out of here. We are going to do this supported. I will have to do this supported. Okay, this is not a pose that I do ever or often. And when I do it, I'm like, oh yeah, I should do this more often. This feels really good. That said, if you are a seasoned yogi and you are familiar with this pose and it is a part of your practice, you feel free to do this with no props whatsoever, okay? But if you are new to yoga, brand new to yoga, especially if you have any sort of physical anything, I'm gonna suggest maybe sticking with just Ardha Hanumanasana for the time being. Now, I want you to have props for this class. I want you to have blankets. I want you to have a bolster or cushions. I want you to have pillows. I want you to have blocks or books, or I want you to have props, okay? Period, point blank. There is no getting around it in this class. I am sorry, but you're going to have props. If you're not used to this kind of posture or shape, you will have to have props. Okay. If you don't have them yet, come back to this class when you have the props. Okay. I'm putting that there. I have a medical disclaimer in all of my classes / practices in the description box, but I especially have it in this one because this one is an intense one, okay? And also, please always consult with your provider, doctor, medical doctor, if you have any other physical anything before you undertake any sort of yoga anything, okay? Always. That said, why Hanumanasana? Here's the short, condensed version, okay? The embodiment of the sacred leap. This is why. This shape opens the hamstrings, the hip flexors, and the inner thighs, the places where fear, hesitation, and old emotional residue hang out. In the myth, Hanuman's great leap was about soul-deep courage. So this shape becomes a ritual moment, softening what's tight, clearing what's old, and making space for the version of you who is ready to step into the new timeline free of your past baggage. Okay? Now, this class, that is our arc pose. Every single posture, every single shape that we do leading up to that pose will get us ready for supported Hanumanasana. Okay? Again, it's supported. Unless you are seasoned and you are like, that is my jam, I don't need any, okay, by all means. But we will be supported. All right? I promise you, I'm not going to leave you hanging like that. But every pose that we do leading up to it will have the body prepped and ready for it to receive and get you into that space of being able to get into that supported posture with ease. All right, that's the goal. So that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the journal prompts and the 5-minute free write. All right, so the journal prompts. First thing I want to mention is that both the free write and then the practice that we'll be moving into is paired with the 963 hertz and 432 hertz sound frequency. This combination essentially, to keep it short, is tied to keeping you feeling rooted, tied to the heart frequency, and then connecting you with your intuition and higher consciousness, which will basically help you usher in your new timeline in a way that feels rooted and grounded and also heart-centered, for lack of better words. There's a deeper description of it, of course, in the description box below. So if you're curious about it, please read about it. That said, in terms of the actual journal prompts, feel free to do it either before practice or after your practice. Sometimes, or you could do both if you want. If you want to know a little bit before or after, sometimes you get more clarity, after the body's had time to open up a little bit. So really, it's about listening to yourself and doing what you feel is right for you. Always, you are your best and only guide in life. Truly, you are your best guru, your only guru in life, okay? Always remember that. All right, so the journal prompts, again, down below in the description box, as is everything. Your whole practice is down in the description box. You could just skip doing the video and just kidding. Okay, so feel free to jot these down. You can pause me, come back, or just listen, come back, whatever you want to do works for me. But here they are. First question: what fear has kept me from stepping into my next beginning? What fear has kept me from stepping into my next beginning? Now, keeping in mind that this practice, we are setting some intention around, letting the body release any fear that we might be holding on to, and the fascia and the tendons, any of that, and the connective tissue. So, even if you're not sure, again, this is why it could be helpful to come back to it after practice too. So you might get more clarity as we move through our practice. The second question: where is the light returning in my life? Where is a light returning in my life? And then question 3, what am I ready to stretch into? Or even what version of me am I ready to stretch into? Feel free to answer both or one, Could be a version of you, it could be a role, it could be any number of things for you. And the last question: what leap, big or small, feels aligned with who I am becoming? What leap, big or small, feels aligned with who I am becoming? So if you've done deep yin with me before, then you know what happens from here. We are going to cut to a 5-minute free write. Some beautiful music is going to play with a little bit of nature sounds. That will be the frequency, the sound frequency you will hear. There is no subliminal tied to it, so please don't fret. I did not record any subliminal underneath that sound frequency. It is truly just the sound, the hertz frequency, the 963 and the 432. And then, of course, that sound will play during our practice as well. It'll be a little bit quieter in the background so you can hear me guide. Yin itself as well, if you've never done yin, I'll talk a little bit, I will be quiet. Okay, that's kind of how yin works, and it does allow for a lot of time for you to listen to yourself. And as I've gotten more used to teaching online, I think I've gotten a bit better about quieting down. So I appreciate your patience with me as I've learned. Anyway, enjoy this time with yourself. And when you are finished, I will see you back on your mat. We will meet in Sukhasana or happy seat. Feel free to sit on the edge of a block or a bolster or a blanket if you need a little assistance for your hip support. I know sometimes we can kind of have a tendency to round out through the back. So if you need a little extra support, feel free to sit on something. But otherwise, I'll see you there soon. Welcome. So we will begin with a little bit of a grounding. So hopefully you have found your Sukhasana of choice. I invite you to just bring your eyes closed or keep a gentle gaze in front of you. And we'll bring our hands to rest on the knees. So if you're needing more grounding today, you can do palms face down. If you need a little bit more of uplifting, you can do palms up. If you need both, you can do one hand up, one hand down. And let's just take a deep breath in through the nose and sigh it out through the mouth. Let's do that 2 more times. Deep breath in. Sigh it out. 1 more time. Deep breath in. And sigh it out. We'll just bring the awareness to the weight of the body on the mat or the earth beneath you. And the sits bones making contact. I invite you just to visualize or intend that you're sitting in the grass. And you're surrounded by beautiful spring, fresh morning dew. Perhaps you notice little bunnies playing in the grass around you. And right up against your back is a beautiful oak tree. And you notice that your spine is easily rests up against this oak. You're able to elongate through the back of the neck as your chin dips down toward your chest. Your shoulders just gently fall away from your ears. And you can just feel that pre-dawn quiet, just letting that light wash over you. You can just feel that sense of something magical about to begin. that sense of possibility. And pretty soon you notice this figure walking toward you. This beautiful goddess walking toward you. Long hair flowing, beautiful flower crown around her head. And as she approaches you, you notice that she's softly walking in the grass, smiling. And there's no fear in your body. You just feel this sense of excitement and curiosity. And she smiles down upon you and introduces herself, Eostra. And she says she hears that you're ready for this brand new start. And she says that she's more than happy to show you the way. In fact, she's been waiting for you. But she also notices that perhaps you've been carrying some things with you that you just don't really need. And she says before we begin this adventure, she just invites you to leave some things, maybe perhaps here in this space, on this mat, in this soil that you don't need to take with you on this new journey, on this adventure. So whatever that may be for you, maybe you don't have a word for it yet. Maybe it's a feeling. Maybe it's a symbol. Maybe it's whatever it is. Just show it to her. She says, okay, I'll take it from here. And she says, we'll come back and visit this just as soon as you're finished. And with that, she turns on her heel and she disappears. And you already start to feel a bit lighter, but you know that there's still some body work that needs to happen. Your intention has been set. You take a deep breath in and you start letting go by sighing it out through the mouth. You gently blink the eyes open. You come into this space, this time, and this space. Maybe a gentle smile on your face. And we'll make our way into our first shape, caterpillar pose. So finding your way into caterpillar, we'll bring the legs straight out in front into Dandasana. So if you needed a little bit of support for your Sukhasana, you might decide you need a little support for caterpillar as well. It's the same concept. You might want a little blanket underneath the sits bones so your hips rock forward. You might not need anything, and that's fine too. From here, maybe you want knees bent, maybe you want them straight along the mat. We'll reach fingertips to the sky. Exhale, fold over the top of the legs. Maybe you reach for ankles or calves or feet. Another option would be to really put a deep bend in the knees and then just fold down the center line here. Of course, you know, I did say you're going to want to have some props for this class. So if you have a bolster or a cushion from your couch, you can put that behind the legs too and do that. Okay, so of course, always options you've got here. We will be here for 5 minutes, so find whatever is comfortable for you. With caterpillar pose, we are getting into the bladder meridian line. As you might notice some sensation along the hamstrings. So we're releasing some fear and tension. But I invite you to breathe into this shape and let it just be the energy of making peace or surrendering to what has passed, like the old version of you. And if the mind begins to wander, that's okay. Just gently bring yourself back to present moment, back to that energy of making peace with the past version of you, that version of you that brought you to where you are today, to this moment right here. That version of you is worth loving and giving gratitude to and making peace with. giving your body permission to release any feelings of fear. Without taking any new chances. If you would like to link your breath with movement, I invite you to take a deep breath in with me. I'll exhale slowly, come up out of that pose. Let's lean back onto the hands for a moment and then bring the soles of the feet onto the mat and just do this little windshield wiper motion with the knees, just to kind of help bring a little reprieve to the low back before we move into our next pose, which is butterfly pose. So as I mentioned at the beginning of our practice, every posture that we are doing is leading up to our arc pose, which is supported Hanumanasana, okay? So every one of these shapes is helping us gear up for the big pose, the big leap, if you will. All right, so our butterfly pose. In yin, they always say keep the feet further away, but I say do what feels right for you always. I like to have my feet closer in toward me. The closer the heels are in toward you, the more intense you're going to feel that on the inner thighs, okay? Again, if it feels right for you, do it. If it doesn't, then don't. If you want more support behind your knees, you can always take some blocks or a couple of blankets or a couple of couch pillows and put them there. Again, that's up to you. You can wrap your hands around the toes or the ankles. I like to wrap my fingers around my toes, and then I also like to come down with a rounded back. You're more than welcome to come down with a straight spine, or you can stay upright. Okay, again, whatever works for you. We are here for 3 minutes. Actually, we're here for 4. I changed my mind. So we're getting into the low back. We're getting into the inner thighs here. Meridian-wise, we are getting into the kidneys. In traditional Chinese medicine, the kidneys hold our deepest storehouse of vitality. Butterfly gives that system room to refill rather than drain. So this is about trusting the gradual unfolding of our journey. So sometimes when we set out for, any sort of intentions or new beginnings, there's this idea that it's going to go a certain way or whatever the case may be, and that's where that trust the process comes in, because sometimes it can look a little different than we think. So then it comes down to trusting the unfolding, right? Just like the caterpillar has to trust its unfolding to become a butterfly. You are maintaining your breath with your movements. I invite you to take a deep breath in with me and exhale. Slowly come up. We'll bring the knees together like you're closing a book, and all of us will find our way into tabletop pose. From here, you might decide you'd like to have a little cushion underneath your knees. So you can lay down a blanket lengthwise along the mat, or you can just fold up the edge of your blanket, or the edge of your mat rather, to fold your mat in half. And that will work too, but you don't have to use anything either. Nothing always is always an option too. You don't need anything. You might need to move your blanket back further as well. So finding your way into tabletop pose. Wrists are directly under shoulders, knees directly under hips. We're going to just do a couple of cat-cow stretches here. So finding that neutral spine first. The core is engaged here. So as the pelvis tilts forward, we are drawing the navel in toward the spine. The pelvis rocks forward. The shoulder blades spread apart from one another. The head sort of dangles between the hands here. And then we inhale, come up, find your cow pose. I apologize. I didn't mean to like yell into the mic there. Sometimes I forget that I'm wearing it. And then I'm like, I watch this back. Well, exhale, sorry. Find cow. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like screaming into the mic right there. Sorry. Inhale, find your cow. See, I'm still adjusting to online teaching. And one more time, round out, find cat. And one more time for your cow pose. Amazing. Come back into that neutral spine position. All right, so now here is where you might like to have your blocks handy. I'm gonna put mine over here to the side, just so I can show. All right, beautiful. So setting up here in our neutral spine position first. Let's walk the hands out, I'd say about a palm length in front. We'll extend out through the right leg, and then, bring the right foot all the way up to the top of the mat between the hands. My apologies. Now, you might need to kind of help the leg and foot along, and that's okay, but just kind of, do what you gotta do there. From here, you're gonna heel toe the foot out all the way to the edge of the mat, setting up for dragon pose on the right side. Sometimes it's helpful to tuck the toes on the left foot and lift the knee up off the mat, or that back leg, lift the knee up off the mat, and then it's called straightening out through the tail in yin. We're not so much like on the knee. Of course, I know sometimes you kind of have to be if that feels better to you, but it's a pretty intense stretch, okay? I'm not gonna lie, a pretty intense shape to be in. But this is where having a block can come in handy, or two blocks can come in handy, but you can place your hands on there just to kind of help, bring the hands up off the mat a little bit. That can help ease up the intensity a bit. You can bring the forearms down onto the blocks if you're not quite ready to come all the way down onto the mat. So those are some of the options. Of course, you can always, bring the blocks up to like the high side, so you're up even higher, which is also helpful, if you're not quite ready to come down as far. If you don't have blocks, books are helpful, a stack of books. Otherwise, you can just stay just like so on the hands. Of course, if you're a bit more seasoned in your yin practice, you can come down onto the forearms, and then you can come into open wing dragon, which is where you come onto the edge of your foot. Maybe even push a little bit on the knee But again, this is really about finding the shape that works for you from a place where the body says it's okay, and not from where our mind is saying this is what we should be doing, right? So with this posture, we're getting into the liver and kidney meridians. So we are clearing more of the stagnation and the fear from the body. My dog has decided to join us for yoga. My apologies. Okay, so if you are linking the breath with the movement, I invite you to take a deep breath in and exhale. Come up out of whatever position you are in. If you have any props, you just kind of move them off to the side. And we're going to just bring the right knee back to meet the left. So you'll end up back in this tabletop pose. You might want to do this little wagging your tail for lack of better words. If you'd like to, come up into a down dog position for a moment, bring the blood flow back down into the calves and the ankles. Maybe wag your tail in the down dog pose. You're welcome to do that before making your way back down into tabletop. And we'll set up to do dragon on the left side. So find your tabletop pose once more. Walk the hands out about a palm length in front again. Extend out this time through the left leg and bring the left foot to the top of the mat. You might go between the hands. You might just come to the outside of the hands. Whichever you choose to do is perfectly fine. And straighten out through your tail if you need to. And just keeping in mind that, this side, of course, may look and feel different than the right. And that's okay. So you might need props for this side. You might not. And doing what feels right for you is the right thing. So yeah, that's all I suggest. So dragon is the moment before the leap. So you can think of this as the edge between comfort and transformation. So I don't know if you've ever heard that before, like we don't grow in our comfort zone, right? Dragon is like the least of it's my least favorite posture, believe it or not. But it is so beneficial, and I don't know, there's something to be said about it, right? There's a little bit of strength involved because we're, you know, on the upper body. There's this intensity we're feeling in the low body. And there is this intense transformation that's happening at the same time. So it's that moment before the leap. And so I invite you to sit with that while we are in your dragon of choice, whatever that looks like for you. I invite you to think about that feeling as well, that transition period, that space between what's to come, what has been, that liminal space as well. And sometimes it does feel uncomfortable when you're not quite there yet, right? Perfect. So if you are linking your breath with your movements, I invite you to take a deep breath in here. And we'll exhale. Heel toe the foot back to center and bring the left knee back to meet the right. We'll end up in our tabletop. Maybe you want to do some cat-cows here. Maybe you want to do some hip circles. Maybe you want to do some little tail wagging. Whatever it is you choose to do is perfectly fine. I'm going to come up into this little downward facing dog again. Maybe some alternating knee bends here. That's what sounds good to me today in my body. I apologize. I don't mean to yell into the mics again. Someday I'll remember. Perfect. And then finding our stopping point. All right. So here you may like to have your blocks handy. We are now getting closer to our leap of faith, to our arc pose, setting up now for Ardha Hanumanasana. Now, we can get into this posture a number of different ways, but I think we're just going to start here in tabletop pose. And we'll bring the right foot up between the hands. So almost like we're coming into this low lunge. Here's where you might want to have a couple of blocks or your books on the sides of your feet. Okay, you don't have to. Okay, you can just tent your fingers, little spider fingers here. But essentially, all we're going to do here is just straighten out through the right leg. And we're just going to feel that nice little sensation along the back of the leg. Maybe you might be feeling a little bit around the ankle. You're welcome to keep the foot planted on the mat. You can bring the toes up if you want. You can play around with both energies. See what that feels like. We will be here for 3 minutes on both sides. So take note of what both of those feel like for you. If you want to, actually, I think for now, let's just do this for now. I'm gonna save supported for for what's next. I do invite you though to check in with this right hip. See if you can kind of draw the right hip back slightly and notice how that feels, how that changes the sensation a little bit along the back of the leg. So we are again getting into the bladder meridian here. If you haven't noticed yet, that the bladder meridian is connected in with the hamstring, the back of the leg. So again, getting into that fear, the anticipation of the future. So Ardha, Hanumanasana, and even supported Hanumanasana, just as I mentioned at the beginning, technically aren't in poses, though the same principle, I suppose, could still apply in terms of finding that sweet spot and staying a while. That said, with this one in particular, I'm more so like, yeah, stay a while, find the sweet spot, but also maybe there's some room for sniffing around a little bit, right? So maybe reaching for the toes. What does that feel like? Just gentle. Just go gently. So if you are linking your breath with the movements with me, I invite you to take a deep breath in here. And let's exhale. Just put a bend into the right knee for a moment. You can kind of rock forward a little bit here. And we'll bring the right knee back to meet the left. And let's bring the big toes together behind for a moment. Bring the hips down to the heels. And we'll just do a little bit of a child's pose here for just a couple of breaths. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. Walk the hands back toward you. Bring your knees together. Find your tabletop once more. And let's extend out this time through the left leg. Bring the left foot up to the mat between the hands. And we'll set up now for Ardha Hanumanasana on the left side. So just straighten out through the left leg this time, and check in with your left hip. So maybe draw the left hip back slightly if you need to. Notice the sensation there. Stretching the future of your path, this future you, this new beginning in front of you. All that possibility. The healthy fear, the excitement, the unknown, the known. And there's room for all of it. And remembering that Eostra is never about forcing, just always about thawing her new beginning, right? It's a gentle awakening. So from here, you're linking your breath with your movements. We'll take a deep breath in together. Exhale, put a bend in your left knee. Do this nice little reprieve for a moment before bringing the left knee back to meet the right. Maybe you want to do some hip circles here. Maybe you want to do child's pose again. Maybe you want to do downward facing dog. Perhaps you would like to come into hero's pose with me. Place the place the right hand on the left knee. Do these little spider fingers behind the tailbone area and just an exhale, gentle twist over the left shoulder. Kind of come back to center on your inhale. Exhale, twist a little bit deeper. Good, and we'll do the same thing on the opposite side. So left hand to right knee, sit up tall on the inhale. Exhale, a little twist. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale, twist a little deeper. Perfect. Okay, so we are going to want to have our props handy and and our puppies handy with toys. Hi, puppets. Okay, you gotta move out of the way. Yes, you do. Put that over there. Okay. For our supported Hanumanasana, you're going to either want to have some blocks a bolster, and we'll go ahead and get set up. We're going to start in our tabletop pose. We're going to bring the right foot up to the top of the mat between the hands. So we're in this low lunge position. Now you might decide you'd like to have some blocks, just like so, on the sides of your hands to support you. From here, you'll slide the bolster or the cushion or whatever you've got right up underneath the leg or the thigh, right? From there, you'll start heel toeing the front leg out as far as you can. Now you can keep that bend in the knee if you'd like. So as you can see, my leg doesn't straighten out all the way. That's totally fine with me, because I told you at the beginning of this practice, this is not something I do all the time. This is not a pose that I get into very often. So I am going to stay just like so. My foot's going to stay like this for a while, probably. The longer we hold this pose, I might decide that, like, oh, okay, I can kind of come out a little bit more. Maybe not much, but a little bit more. And maybe even I might need to bring my blocks up higher, right? To support myself even more. So again, you're going to have to work with where you are today. Now, if this in and of itself is just like, this really is not working for me, then I really encourage you to stay in Ardha Hanumanasana as much as possible, but like keep, how do I want to word this? You're going to stay more so in Ardha Hanumanasana, but like see if you can, bring more of that front leg so that it's supported on the bolster or the prop underneath you. I hope what I said just made sense. I apologize if it didn't. Okay. So here we leap, me and you. We're taking this leap of faith together. So this is the leap of faith posture. Hanuman jumped across the ocean for devotion. And Eostra reminds us that renewal happens when we allow ourselves to rise again. Together, they show real bravery grows naturally when the heart is ready. So I think I need to do this practice more often. I certainly need to do this pose more often. Perfect. If you're linking your breath with your movements and you are all propped up like me, I invite you to take a deep breath in, and on your exhale, we're going to start bringing the front foot into this low lunge position again, okay? And very slowly back to meet that left leg. So you might need to do a little bit of movement here, whatever works for you, before we set up for our leap of faith on the opposite side. So this time the left foot will come up. So we're in this low lunge position. I'm setting our timer. We're going to start walking the left leg out in front. Ooh-wee. Taking that leap. Beautiful. So I invite you to picture yourself leaping into that perfect, beautiful, maybe not perfect, perfectly imperfect. How about that? Beautiful version of you that you are seeing for yourself, that new version of you that you're seeing, different version, and not necessarily better, just because it's different doesn't mean it's better. It's just when we know different, we do different. That's all it is. That past version of you is still amazing, It brought you here. It got you this far. I love that past version of you, and I hope you love that past version of you too. It had its place, and that future version of you is going to be a past version of you someday, and it's going to have its place, and it's all perfect. But no matter what, right now, this leap, this metaphorical leap, this embodied leap right now, that's pretty special too. deep breath in here and exhale. Find your low lunge. And I think the beautiful part of that, if your leap of faith was like gymnast level, that's amazing. But if it wasn't, I think that's amazing too, because it's just like we can take a leap and it can be wobbly and it can be imperfect, and it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing, right? It can be training wheels and all, and that in and of itself is beautiful and it deserves its place. So I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of you for trying it, if you did. And that's what yoga is. We practice. It is never, ever, ever about perfection. Ever. Ever. Okay? I can't stress that enough. That's why I always say, if you have a body, you can do yoga. You have a yoga body because you have a body. So that said, what I'd like to say now is we are going to get into Shavasana, our final pose of rest, our corpse pose. If there is anything else that you need to do before you get into your Shavasana, please do. If there's a certain type of Shavasana you prefer, please take it. I recommend pausing the video because we're just gonna meet right here. I'm gonna be in mine and I'll meet you in yours. I'll see you back here soon. Welcome back. I invite you to just start by tuning into the feeling of your body being supported by the earth beneath you. Notice any subtle shifts that have been made from our time together. How your body feels after all of the shapes that you've moved through. How your mind feels. And let's take a deep breath in together, in through the nose. And sigh out through the mouth. Just letting go of our practice. Coming back to that visualization of that grass, that grassy area that we started our practice in. This time you're laying in that grass instead of sitting, laying under that tree instead of sitting under it. And Eostra is actually lying next to you. A beautiful energy from the sun is peeking through the tree's branches. She tells you that anything is possible. And she reminds you that seeing is believing. Believing in yourself is really mostly all of it. And that dream that you have, that potential you see, that wish that you want to be fulfilled was put in your heart by Source, God, Universe, the Goddess herself. And she's there to help you fulfill it if you want. Or just remind you that it's yours for the taking if you so desire. And as you look up at the sky, you smile. The sun gently warms your face. You breathe in the knowing that anything is possible. If you would like to remain in your Shavasana indefinitely, please do. If you would like to start coming out of your Shavasana, we may begin maybe just by bringing awareness to the breath first. And just honoring the energy of corpse pose, letting die what needs to die, any fears that might be holding you back. Saying thank you, but no thank you. And bringing life back into the body by wiggling fingers and toes, hands and feet, and maybe a full body stretch. And choosing a side to roll over onto, whether that's your right or your left side, finding the fetal position, the position of new beginnings. And using that top arm or hand to gently press into the mat or the earth is what I was going to say. It came out math. Beneath you, the head and the neck will come up last. I have my little puppy next to me here. I didn't want to kick him. I had to put on a sweatshirt because it was so chilly. And we'll bring our hands together in the Anjali Mudra. Connect the thumbs with the sternum, chin dips down slightly toward the chest. Gently bring the eyes closed. Mahalo and Loa. Thank you so much for being here today, for trusting me with your new beginning, for your leap of faith. I am right there with you, taking that leap and training wheels and all. May the benefits of today's practice stay with you long after today is over. My soul honors your soul. I honor the place inside of you in which the entire universe resides. I honor the light, the shadow, the peace, the truth, and the beauty within you, because it is also within me. In sharing these things, we are connected. We are one. We are the same. Aloha and namaste.